rolling.
We're back.
Hello.
How are you?
Good. You?
Not bad.
Nicky T's back on the mic.
I told you I was taking over.
I really always wanted to do one of those Elton John. Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome Mr. Nicky T.
Welcome. Very good one. Yeah, shall I put some canned laughter in here?
Yeah. Yeah, do it.
What's happening, mate? You've had a really busy last couple of weeks.
Oh, good God. It's been interesting, to say the least.
Yeah.
I both personal and business. I told you a little story earlier. I'll regale everyone else with my crazy little story. So, thought I'd planned my life out really, really well. Squeezed in a family holiday. I did a quick week in Mallorca with the children. Lovely week. Had a great time. Had it planned perfectly. I won't mention the name of the airline.
Nice.
Although they were on the TV this morning for being terrible. Booked a quick, cheap flight back home, so thought I'd get back midday Sunday. Perfect. Got myself 12 hours to get ready to go to Austin.
Yeah.
Of course, it didn't work out like that.
Absolutely not.
8 hours delayed.
Oh,
2 a.m. in the morning, roll back into the house. Literally sat there. This is the life of an entrepreneur for you. Sat there emptying my suitcase because I haven't got enough clothes to have 2 weeks of clothes plus a week of Mallorca clothes. Emptying my suitcase, putting it in the washing machine, trying to get it dried. Had 3 hours to get it dried, repacked, and then the car turned up to take me back to the airport to go to Austin.
So literally zero sleep for that last 24
Didn't even
hours.
get into bed. I was... I laugh about it now, but...
Do you know what? Something I didn't ask you earlier. What's the time delay from here to Austin then?
6 hours difference.
6 hours behind.
Yes.
So what's the flight time?
10 and a half.
So you jumped on a 10 and a
Try
half
and work
hour
that
flight.
out.
Yeah, literally. quick maths. I don't think
Quick maths.
I don't think I'm going to be that good.
I think I lost about 48 hours of my
You were
life
very
or something.
tired.
Yeah, let's suffice to say that. And everyone knows when you start off the week tired, like it just goes downhill from there. So I think I eventually managed to recover by the weekend. But then,
How long were you in Austin for?
2 weeks. So me and Steve did 2 weeks. Of course you saw. I don't know what I'm saying.
Always
You
see.
saw. Everyone saw the Techstars announcement. So we spent 2 weeks with the Techstars group. It's essentially a 3-month program, but they've been nice enough to only do 4 weeks of it residential.
Oh, really?
In Austin. So normally the program before COVID used to be like 3 months in Austin. But because we're in the UK, obviously that would have been tough. And there's a lot of virtual companies this time. So yeah, 2 weeks in Austin at the start, 2 weeks in Austin at the beginning, and then a load of stuff virtual in between.
Oh, we got a
Love it.
fire alarm. Cut, and I'll come back to this. Okay, we're actually back.
We are back.
We're back now. Which is good. We sorry about that. We had a evacuation fire alarm. There wasn't actually a real one, much to my disgust, as Craig's just heard for the last 10 minutes. Me complaining that how can you have a shared office space where you have to have a fire evacuation drill? If you own an office, you should be capable of getting out of a fucking building if it's on fire.
Apparently you're not allowed an office if you can't get out of it.
Yeah, so you have to practice runs. Let's go back to what you were talking about. That's much more interesting.
What were we talking about?
Techstars.
Techstars. Where were we?
You were just telling me. So you've been in Austin, Texas.
Yeah, Austin, 2 weeks. Yeah, really good time actually. I think the most, me, massively believe in building network, meeting people.
Yeah.
Everyone's got different opinions. Nothing's a bad opinion, I don't think, or not many of them. So, having had the opportunity to meet so many different people, get surrounded by founders, it's a lonely place being an entrepreneur, you know, and although me and Steve do it together, it's still lonely. You want people around you and a supportive network and people that can help and provide advice, guidance, et cetera, et cetera. And there's I can't remember what it is, 8,600 founders in Techstars, 3,000 portfolio companies. So just the network and the sheer amount of knowledge and capability in that is just incredible. So yeah, really good 2 weeks, nailing down. There's obviously a program of work that they take you through. Like anything in life, you pick and choose the bits that are most useful to you at the time, but it's a great thing.
So what did the 2 weeks kind of look like? Were you kind of set up a hotel, get up in the morning, go to... Is there a
we
Techstars
work.
Office or
Yeah. So we work offices in Austin. There's 15 companies, I think, in total in the cohort that got selected this time from thousands. So really interesting and eclectic mix of companies as well, which is another really cool thing. So there's, mention a couple. There's a company with a German name, Glückskind, and they've created AI strollers, AI-based buggies. So like the Tesla of buggy, like super cool.
Really?
Yeah, yeah. And they're selling them. They got like incredible AI technology that tells you when a buggy's going to go into a road or it's going to hit a building or stuff. Like so cool.
So the AI measures are for like safety measures.
Yeah, yeah.
I was about to
Keeping
ask,
an eye on
why
it.
would you?
Yeah, and it'll follow you around and stuff. Like
I was gonna say, what do you just program the route you want it and you just send them off?
Yeah, it's amazing. Like Anne and Kevin, incredible founders. Yeah, just a really cool. And then there's enterprise focused companies that are doing super cool stuff with AI. There's a business, a guy called Phil that's created a business where it's after people die, creating like virtual memorials for them. So like rather than going to a cemetery, you walk to a place that you remember them, for example, like, you know, your favorite place to walk with your wife, and a virtual experience where it pops up with memories and photos and stuff. Like just so many cool companies, you know, and just so different as well. And like, again, you know how much I love learning from people and hearing people, and it's amazing the lessons you can learn from people that you would never think, like nowhere near my kind of business, not the same customer, not even close, but just listening to them speak, the passion about their businesses. Yeah, it's incredible. I love it.
What's one thing that you've really taken back from this last 2 weeks, apart from get more sleep and don't use certain airlines? What would be like a lesson that you could bring back?
I think you couldn't. You know, we talked about it a little bit earlier, and one of the fundamental pieces of this is what they call the 3 Ws, right? Which comes from this Levers book that Amos, the MD, co-authored. And I think for me, you can't ever spend enough time, and you can't ever do it enough times going back and looking at who you're selling to, why you're selling it, and what you're selling. Like, I think, because you think you get complacent a little bit. I'm guilty of it, because you think I've done this a couple of times. Like, I know what I want to build and I know who I want to sell it to. But actually taking that time, and that's what me and Steve found so valuable, like separating ourselves from the day-to-day business and taking the time to actually sit down again and go over and over that is never wasted time.
Do you feel like as well, for businesses, I definitely know this is good for my one, businesses that are continually developing, so even like yourself, where Bleach is continually adding new things to the platform.
Yep.
Do you feel like actually that is so valuable in your marketing process for the new type of customer that you want to be bringing on board? So like, for instance, I definitely know with the way that we've pivoted in how we're doing everything, we're continually getting kind of better at what we do.
Yeah, yeah.
And so we're narrowing down what our niche is,
which
also narrows down the customer base, because we now know the type of customer we want to work with, we know the kind of people we want to work with, and they've got to kind of match our personalities as well as the business ventures that we want to do as well.
Yeah,
you know,
yeah.
So do you think that's kind of where it is so important to do the what, why, and how with regards to customers?
Yeah, and it's narrowing, and I think one of the things we've learned is you can never be too narrow. You know, I think as an entrepreneur, you're terrified of narrowing your market down too much, because like in your mind, counterintuitively, that's like, well, I'm limiting the amount of people I can sell to.
Yeah,
but actually, what that means is that you can get so specific with your marketing. The way that Amos termed it, which I really, really like, is if you could narrow your customer profile down so far that you knew that 100% of the time those people would buy what you're selling, that's when you know you've been successful.
Right.
So to get 100% success rate, what does that customer profile look like? And I'll be honest, even I haven't gone far enough yet. You listen to like an Amos or someone talk about it, and they can literally talk for 3 minutes about how in-depth that profile is. Like literally to the point where you're like, someone called Craig from Fairham, who's got this, who's got that, who's got this, who's got that, who's got this. For us, it's like someone who's got this particular technology, who's less than 50 employees, who's in the SaaS business, who sells only this to enterprise customers. You know, you could go on and on and on, and it's really counterintuitive to narrow down that much. But in the early stage of the business, it means that everything from your messaging, from your targeting, from, to your point, who you choose to work with, all those things can be so narrow, and therefore you know you're going to be successful in that small group, and then later you go up to widen, you know, and that's just, it's really, really powerful.
So what's the thinking about like everything you've just said with regards to the Austin trip? Was it all just based around Techstars this time around?
Yes, yeah, predominantly, yeah. But then also the offshoot of Techstars, which is incredible for Bleach specifically, is that the whole of the Techstars portfolio is like our ideal customer profile.
Nice.
So one of the nice quid pro quos of what we've got here is we've not only got, you know, the support and mentorship and the accelerator program, but in addition to that, we've got a group there that are ideal customers for us that can give us incredible feedback. So we've already started to onboard. We've partnered with Techstars, because the quid pro quo for a Techstars or any partner of ours is that we also secure their portfolio for them. So their portfolio are more secure. They're more easily able to close sales deals, et cetera, et cetera. So we do that for them, and that's a real quid pro quo for those Techstars founders. So we've partnered to get discount, 3 months, all that kind of stuff for the Techstars portfolio, and started to onboard those people. So they're now giving us feedback as well, and we're getting and again, eclectic mix of businesses, right? So like Looks Kinda a customer now, and that's really, really cool because we've got this kind of much more eclectic mix, much more diversified portfolio, working with people with different mindsets. It's just I'm just enjoying the ride. It's great.
I'm guessing the feedback's going to be very different and varied using multiple different kind of industries.
Yeah, for sure.
So one of the things that I was actually going to say is what new things have you added to the Bleach platform?
Yeah.
Or kind of what is going on with the Bleach platform at the moment?
Yeah, well, actually, one of the, and there are tons is the honest answer, but then, more specifically, one of the things that really surprised me over the last couple of weeks, listening to feedback from those new customers, and particularly people in different verticals that aren't just SaaS people, was this concept of peace of mind, right? And I knew that was a thing, but this is where customer feedback is so important. My thesis was it wasn't compelling enough reason to buy it, right? And probably you're a good example of this, actually, because a business that isn't selling tech, right? What we heard resoundingly from founders of those businesses was actually peace of mind is the most important thing to them, right? So they don't understand deep security. Okay, so here's an analogy. QuickBooks for finance, right? So you look at a QuickBooks for finance. I'm no accountant. Like, I'm no CFO. Like, I don't understand the deep technicalities of financial accounting. But I can go onto my QuickBooks dashboard and I can go, we're doing all right. We're pretty healthy. Outgoings equal ingoing, blah, 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 blah. And I can make sense of it to some extent. Think about Bleach as being the kind of QuickBooks for security, right? So what we were hearing consistently was, I want to be able to just log into a dashboard that says, you're good. Yeah. One way or another. It doesn't matter. I'm not a deep technical guy. Don't really know what that means. I fix some things because it's easy to on the Bleach platform. And now before I go to bed at night, I can have a look and I can go, we're good, And that's a bit like you. You can look at now your business, have a look because you're hooked up and go, well, who's got multi-factor authentication in place? Are we green from a risk perspective?
Yeah.
And that gives you that peace of mind that you're able to sleep at night, that you're comfortable. You can never be 100% secure, but it just gives you that peace of mind. So anyway, back to the original point, I was really surprised that actually the reason a lot of people are buying the solution is for that peace of mind. So all that coming back to product feedback, we've started to build much more functionality in that will inform people in a very simple way that they're doing the right things and their business is secure enough.
Brilliant. So have you got like a notification system then that you build?
We have, yeah. We built in notifications, so like Slack or email or whatever that's going to be rolled out in the next couple of weeks. We've got dashboarding, so when you log in, you can see, here's all the green stuff, here's all the good stuff, here's what I'm doing right, here's the things I need to do today that will make me better and secure myself. So it's all aimed at being really simple, non-technical, and helping founders and people like yourself to know that they're doing the right things.
I've got to say, when I used your platform, it was the easiest thing I think I've ever used, and it was really like idiot proof in that sense. Like,
well, and that's another learning for the last couple of weeks. I said to you earlier, what you hit, and I realized that the conversations go the same way. So even when we're talking to investors or potential customers, whatever it is, you're like, it's really simple and easy to use, and then people go, how simple?
Yeah, but everyone says this.
No one believes you.
Yeah.
No one believes you, right? So showing rather than telling is really important. Like, it literally is 3 clicks. This, you've done it.
100%.
3 clicks, right? And you hook it up and go. But we're so conditioned that security is complicated that people go, it can't possibly be that simple. Like, how many man hours do you need to install this stuff? And it's like, hours? Like a couple of minutes at best, It's
an app.
Yeah, exactly.
That's
exactly. And it's just never been done, so no one really believes it. So lesson, note, you're going to help us with this, show rather than tell.
Yeah,
like,
100%.
let's show people how easy it is. And when people get to, and that's the other thing, you get in front of people and you show them in a demo, I close 100% of those customers.
It's because what you're selling is not useless. It's not, and it's also not a luxury.
No,
it's not like a luxury
it's a
item.
commodity.
It is something you really do need for your business.
Yeah, yeah.
And it is the easiest.
Utility, not commodity.
Yeah,
that's the wrong word.
There's, okay, I left you too. It's the easiest thing, and also one of the things that I've realised about it is because it's so easy and simple. I don't have to. I personally like the fact that I can set it up and then it's just going to do
let
its
it
thing.
run. Yeah, yeah.
And the thing is, because it's so easy and simple to do, and it looks good.
Yeah.
And being a creative industry, we like that.
Yeah.
And obviously I'm going to be biased because I'm working with you as well.
Yeah, yeah.
But it is genuinely the best one that I've seen out there. Like I've worked with other security things where they're asking me to upload. Like I've got to go through processes for emails, and they've got like different things that I have to download. And I just thought like I'm paying you to do the job, so I don't have to.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
That's essentially what the Bleach platform does. Is I pay for the job, it loads up onto a dashboard.
Yeah, yeah.
Literally sign in through the dashboard, and then it comes up with all the things. And it was really funny because obviously it was like, yeah, you're secure, all of your teammates are not. And
Yeah,
I was like,
yeah.
Okay,
Perfect.
like that's
Yeah,
it. So
yeah,
like
yeah.
at least that gave me the knowledge to go, oh, okay, damn, I'm not the problem. 'Cause
Yeah,
that's half the thing that I think with a lot of entrepreneurs and I guess MDs is they'll be like, well, I have two-factor authentication, or I am secure.
Yep.
But that's great, but your other 10 to 20 members of staff aren't.
Yeah, yeah.
Gina in accounting hasn't done her thing. Do you know what I mean? Like,
yeah, yeah.
So it's definitely a good platform in that sense.
Yeah, I love that, and that's the kind of analogy about QuickBooks again. So like as you're a bigger business, you grow into like a really complicated financial accounting system. But that's when you've got the knowledge of financial accounting, you want the options. Whereas what we found is forgiveness rather than permission. Most small businesses like yourself don't have the expertise. So Craig, tell me what to do. Like, don't ask me if I want to do 50 different things because I don't know what I need to do, right?
Yeah.
Whereas tell me what I need to do and fix it for me, and that's what we built.
Yeah, for sure. What you were talking to me about networking earlier, and I don't want to talk too much because if you follow Craig and follow all the socials, then I don't want to be doubling up here on the kind of subjects we're talking about, and we will keep this one pretty short because next week Steve is going to be back, and I'm going to force him to be on camera. Steve, if you're not back next week, I'm going to be mad. But essentially, you're talking about networking.
Yeah,
and I found it really interesting. One of the points that you were making about when networking with somebody, just because they might not serve you in the now doesn't mean that you should just throw away that contact.
Yeah.
But it was interesting because you actually banned your networking differently to how I do. And I'm talking this on like a specifically business sense. Like, obviously when you go network and you meet people and you actually become friends with people and you go, wow, actually you're a really good person. I love what you're doing. Even though we might not do business together, let's stay in touch.
Yeah.
I'm specifically talking in a business sense.
Yeah, because it can sound selfish, right? And I don't mean using people or any of that kind of stuff. But yeah, to your point, it's important to recognize. I mean, I think the first tenet is that everyone's going to be useful to you at some point, generally speaking. Like, that's obviously not 100% true, but generally speaking, most people have got wisdom, knowledge, advice that they can impart at some point in the journey. What's really important, and it comes back actually to that whole focusing and narrowing down thing that we talked about. You haven't got all the time in the world. So what, as an entrepreneur, what's important for you to do is recognize who's going to help you today, tomorrow, and then in the future, and you think about, what do I need today? So let's say, for example, I'm raising money, right? Who's going to help me today, and who's going to help me to raise money and get money in the bank today? Or it might be that you're on customer growth stage, right? So where am I going to find those customers? Who's going to help me introduce to customers? Blah, blah. And then everything else needs to be pushed off. Yeah. It's just a fact. And I don't mean it in a bad way. You're not horrible to people. But in fact, it's the opposite. Because the most important thing is that you keep all of those contacts warm. It's just know when you need to leverage them.
Is it like being pretty focused and also not wasting other people's time?
Correct.
I think the fact that you've got a cool organization method for networking, because that's something like I've networked quite a lot, but I've never actually in my mind mentally kind of banded them into the now, the potentially 6 months, the potentially a couple of years.
Well, and what you do as well is you alienate people. I've made this mistake a lot in the past, and I still do to some extent, because you want to be nice and you want to You want to be nice to everyone, give time to everyone, but it's really hard to do that. And then you inevitably find yourself in that place where you're constantly moving a meeting because it's not at the top of your to-do list and you don't need to do it right now. And therefore it gets pushed off. And then the other person gets frustrated.
Yeah.
And that's not the best way. So like someone said to me last week, I think it's much better, and this is generally true of life anyway, but it's much better to be upfront and say, look, really love the conversation. There's some incredible knowledge there you've got. I'd really, really like to stay in touch. I've got a shit ton of other things I need to do for 4 weeks, but let's reconnect next month. And people will appreciate that more than saying, or just ignoring them because you're too busy, or, like I say, put a meeting in for next week when your heart's not in it, and then keep pushing it back and never actually do it, So yeah, I think it's just important to be upfront.
Just on the subject of focus, I think one of the things that's really interesting that I thought about a couple of weeks back is it's the same sort of thing when pivoting slightly away from networking. It's the same sort of thing when somebody says, oh, you must read this book, or you must listen to this podcast, or you must, and they kind of drive something that's really affected them at the moment.
Yeah.
And I found that what I used to do is I used to be kind of a bit of a sponge. I'd take all of the information. So I'd go listen to the podcast, whatever somebody recommended. I'd read that book at the time.
Yeah.
But in that moment, you might not actually be looking to, say, dive in on your mindset.
Yeah.
You might be actually having to dive in on financial management and just understanding finances and wealth, or you might be looking at how you could be improving your body at the time. I think what people try to do is they try to do the balancing act with everything. Single plate at a time, and they try to take little bits of knowledge, which actually goes back to your point about focus. You're then not actually focused on the one thing that you want to build at a time. And I feel like these pillars have to be built one at a time. So focus on one, even if it's for a couple of weeks, and then you slightly pivot to another whilst that's there. And you start bringing them all up to the same level and so on.
Yeah, I wouldn't disagree with that. I think the only caveat I would put is there's obviously some stuff you've just got to do. There's a list of things that are day-to-day stuff that you just have to do to keep the business running. But I would completely agree with that. And actually, it's this kept coming up over the last 2 weeks because, for example, the content at Techstars, yes, they're delivering it all in a 2-week period because that's the period we're in Austin, et cetera, but is it all applicable in that? What are the chances that all of that is applicable that 2 weeks, right, to your business specifically? And that's the same with a book, like you said. It's I always use this, and I've done it a million times, but the diet analogy, the body analogy, I love going back to that stuff. Like someone says, here's the one diet that will work for you, and you're like, no, probably not. There's bits of that might, but there's not one golden bullet, right? We talked about it with routines. 4 everyone's got to get up at 4 a.m. Right? No, that doesn't work for some people. So that's the same thing. You're absolutely right. All of those things are important at some time in your life. Maybe there was a time in my life when 4 a.m. was the only time I could work out. So at that time in my life, that worked. Now, do I have to get up at 4? No, I don't. I'm not going to. So it's important that you take that knowledge, you park it, and that's the same with networking. To bring that full circle is there's stuff that I will need now. There's stuff that I'll need in a short period of time. There's stuff that I'm going to need in the long term. And all of those things fill this kind of huge bucket of knowledge, books, networking, people, all this stuff. And the trick is to focus now and balance utilizing that when you need it, and pulling on those chapters from books and pulling on the content from Techstars and pulling on that contact and knowing that you've got all that stuff and that support network for when the time comes that you need it and it's important.
That's a great way to round off the podcast, mate.
Do you think?
Yeah, I love that.
Did you?
Yeah, it was really good.
Thanks, mate. I'm glad you did.
That was good. That was a solid, if I look at the thing, that was a 2.5-minute speech.
Was it?
Yeah, I love that.
That's
No, that's good stuff.
Talking heads.
Yeah, 100%. I'm going to let you sign off the podcast because we didn't even do the intro.
We didn't do the intro.
I'll let you sign off.
Thanks for joining us again on How to Fuck Up a Startup. We fucked up, so you don't have to.